like that. It was Denzel, but it was me. Weirdest thing ever happened to me. So I'm sitting there, I snap out of it, and I'm just like, acting? Like, random thoughts. So I went in there, said, let me go in the registration building and see if they have a acting class. Never thought about it before, never, I said, if it's open, then that means, all right, it's for me. So on my way to the, inside to the registration building, I started thinking about how I was in high school. My character, my personality. My boys and I, we would always reenact scenes from movie. Whether it's Friday, whether it's like, we were just class clowns, right? Even in lunch, we'd move the tables aside and we would just start acting a fool, So I thought about that. I'm like, wow, I never knew I was an entertainer like that. So I went online, I saw Acting 101, there was a seat available. So I registered for it. Mind you, never took a class, never did anything with acting. At the end of the semester, my professor comes to me and says, Deo, if you don't pursue this, you're crazy. You need to pursue a career in acting because you're one of the few people that I've taught that actually got it. So that was my acting journey right there. I moved out west, moved out to Cali, and pursued a career in acting. I went from, I was a double major like you, Alpha, business and communications, trying to please my parents. I was a major in business and communications and moved out to Cali, switched my major to theater. I was totally focused on theater. Of course, called my dad, and I had the worst conversation of my life, right? The worst thing you could do is call an African parent.
I was about to say that.
It's worst thing you could do is call a Nigerian parent and say, I'm switching my major to entertainment. If I told you half of what he told me, you just wouldn't even believe it. Anyway, I broke down like I had a major moment because here I had a choice to make. Please my parents, or please the passion that was burning inside of me, which was to act and be a performer. It was in that moment that I made the first adult decision of my life. I hung up the phone with him and I pursued a major in theater. I was cut off, I was on my own, wasn't getting much help, all of that stuff, and went on, started doing plays, started doing fashion shows, wound up living in LA for a while, started doing auditions. My life as an actor began from there. And lo and behold, one night I was in LA and I was on the grind like a real, you guys see it on TV, people sleeping in their cars, I did that. And I would say this, part of the reason why I'm here and I agreed to come is to avoid you guys from some of the struggles it takes to be an entertainer or to be economics or whatever it is you're doing. I'm here to cut your learning curve. I was in my car one night and I was going to sleep. I was listening to some R&B music. I was ready to go to bed. And I parked in this nice neighborhood. When you're sleeping in your car, you gotta find a nice neighborhood. You can't be in Compton. I didn't go to Inglewood. I didn't go to none of those areas. I went to Sherman Oaks, residential area, right? Parked my car where I knew it was safe. And before I went to sleep, boom, I had another vision, right? And the vision was, I was in a classroom. It was settings like this. And I just saw myself doing this, talking to young people. And the concept was, I'm gonna ultimately go back home and help young people follow their dreams. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know the full meaning of it. It was crystal clear though. I knew what I saw and I knew the concept. I just didn't know what to call it. I didn't have a name for it, anything like that. So 3 years later, at this time I'm still in LA, doing my thing, hustling, grinding, auditioning. I finally moved back home and I was in OV one day. It was one summer, and I saw a friend of mine. She came in, she said, Deo, come talk to this boy before I kill him. I said, chill out, sis. Like, what happened? She said, he's always breaking stuff in my house. I can't take it. I can't talk to him. He's always breaking stuff. I said, whoa, let me find him. Let me have a conversation with him. So I found him at the course. I said, yo, stop playing. Why are you breaking stuff in your mother's house? You pay bills here? Do you buy any groceries? Do you contribute? Like, I went off on his life. He's like, yo, Dale, chill, it's not even like that. I said, then tell me what it's like. He said, I break stuff so I can put them together. Blew my mind. He would literally take this whole table apart, piece by piece, in his house, just so he could figure out how the pieces work, how to put it together. I went back to Mom. I said, Mom, you got an engineer on your hands. You got an architect. You got an interior designer. You got a construction worker. Something in that area is what he was born to do. Because what gives him satisfaction, what keeps him calm, and what keeps him focused is putting things together. It was in that moment where GPA was birthed in my brain. I remember the vision I had in Cali. It was like, this is what it is right here. speaking to young people like yourselves, finding out what you're interested in, and combining that with your parents and letting them know this is the track we need to take. I spoke to mom, I said, look, he was 10 at the time. I said his middle school has to have a strong STEM component. They have to have some type of technology, engineering, something like that. High school, he needs the same thing. I said, guess what, mom, by the time he's filling out college applications, you're not gonna be worried about financial aid and taking out student loans. He would have had an 8-year portfolio from middle school to high school of already doing things that colleges are gonna pay for him to come into. So by the time he's ready to go to college, he's gonna have scholarships lined up. Because in junior high school and in high school, he's been doing that already. Blew her mind. So that was a track that we put her on. That's where my program GPA was started. Went around, I was handing out my proposals everywhere. Every school in Rockaway, I sent it to. Brooklyn, Queens. Finally, I got into Far Rock High School, and the rest is history. What am I saying? You guys, I have 4 principles. You guys cannot still wait and say, I got time. I got time. Because that's what they used to tell us. Y'all remember? Oh, yo, how old are you? Like, I remember when I was 15, my first youth development experience was here at Hammels Community Center. They needed a coach for, they had a tournament for 10, I think 13 and under. And I signed up to be one of the coaches. Sports, that's how I met sports. You never, like, your interests are so valuable. Everything you're doing naturally, you can get paid to do in the long run. I never knew youth development was a part of my life when I came here at 15 years old. That was my first experience as a coach. I coached all the way. I beat sports. I say it every time I say it. I beat sports in the championship as a 15-year-old coach. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was so long ago, but I didn't even know that was my first introduction to loving on the youth. I remember that experience vividly. Like, I loved coming here to practice. I loved the games. We took the train for the city championship. We won the championship here and had to go to somewhere in Harlem for like the citywide championship with City College where we lost. We was on the train for like 2 hours. It was a great experience. I remember the feeling that I had. And I said to myself, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I just didn't know in what shape or what form. I wish somebody would have told me, Dale, youth development is a route. That's part of why I'm here with you guys today. That's part of why I started my program. What are your interests? What do you love doing? What do you do with your eyes closed? What do you do for fun that people call a hobby or that people call a pipe dream? Hence why I wound up writing my book, Pipe Dreams. What are pipe dreams? Pipe dreams are something that is almost impossible. It's less than, the chances of you doing that are slim. When I first said I want to be an actor, outside of my father, I had friends. I had people, you want to be a what? Dale, that's a pipe dream. Go to school, go to college, get a good job, retire, have kids, boom, keep it simple. That's a pipe dream. I kept hearing that over and over, that's a pipe dream. And the more I heard it, the more I auditioned, the more I studied, the more I focused on it. Because when you're like me and you're what they call stubborn, there's a fine line between determination and stubbornness. I walked that fine line. And every time somebody told me, Dale, that's impossible, for whatever reason, it fueled me. And I kept doing it. Even when I was homeless, I kept doing it. Even when I was hungry, I kept doing it. There was a time I was in Beverly Hills. I would fancy restaurants in Beverly Hills. I was so hungry, this is before I was able to get a job. When people eat in those outside restaurants, people don't eat all their food. You know what I do? I grab some food and then I'll be in my car busting food down. That was my lunch. That was my food for the day. I'm not saying that for a sob story. I'm saying how much I wanted to live this life. And I wish somebody had told me at this age, you can do what you love doing. You can make a living doing what you love doing. So let's get into pipe dreams. I got 4 principles. I took that negative pipe and made it into a positive. Every building that you go into, every house, every institution, every corporation, any building that you're inside of, within the walls are something called pipes. And those pipes, they carry something valuable, whether it's gas for heat or water. Let's stick with water for an example. When you need water, right, to wash your hands or to drink, are you gonna bust the wall wide open so you can get access to the water? No? Anybody? Would you do that? Hopefully not. I hope you won't. There's an easier way. What would you do? What would you do? Turn on the what? the faucet. That's it. You go to the faucet, you get access to what you need. That's part of my life's purpose. I'm just here to open the faucet. You have something valuable inside of you that this world needs. Every one of you. You do. You do. You do. You do. You all have something valuable that the world needs, that your community needs to survive. Who in here can survive without water? Raise your hand. How many people are gonna die or not make it because you never opened up your faucet? How many people, how many brothers and sisters in your community are not gonna get what they need because you never tapped into what's inside of you? And I've learned that part of the reason why people don't open up and share their gifts and share what's inside, because we all got walls up. Like these pipes, we got walls up. We got our walls up. So no one anybody see a pipe in here? You can't see it. Why? Because the walls is up to guard it. And that's how we live our lives, guarded with walls up. And it's not our fault. Look where we are. You grew up in Far Rockaway. You were built for survival. You were born into survival, naturally. Everything we do is about survival. It's about making it. Just keeping our head above water. Just making it. Even you going to school. Most of you go to school not because you have an interest or the school is serving a purpose for you. You're going because it's just a mandate. It's part of your survival. For most kids, they're in school as a babysitting service for their parents. That's it. I'm here to let you know, if you take these walls down and open up what's inside of you, you guys have gifts and talents that you wouldn't even believe. And I'm telling you, you can get paid for it. You can earn a living doing what you love. You can wake up every morning excited. I'll tell you this, everyone in here, every adult in here, we've all had jobs, some of us may do now, that we can't stand waking up in the morning. It's like that night going to, it's like, man, I gotta go to this job again. Need an alarm clock to get up, because you know good and well, if that alarm don't go off, I'm not getting up. We were not built to live like that. We were built to be excited to wake up. I remember one of the times I woke up without an alarm clock was my first gig when I moved back to New York. I got booked to do a video shoot for Melanie Fiona back in the days. The song was called Watch Me Work, and the shoot was in Jersey. I had to leave here. My call time in the city was 6 o'clock. I had to be on the 410 train from 59th Street. I was up at 3 o'clock, just wired. Like, I went to sleep at 12. I'm a late sleeper. That was one of the first time I remember, like, going to sleep late and waking up and not feeling tired. I woke up energized. And I forgot to set my alarm clock. That's the beauty of this story. I woke up like, what time is it? What time is it? Shoot, it's 3 o'clock. And I was wide awake. I didn't have to roll over. I was energized. Why? Because I was feeding my passion. When you do what you love to do, when you're getting paid for what you love to do, you don't need an alarm clock to get up. Nobody needs to wake you up. And that's my first principle, punctuality. 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 How many of you've been late to school a few times? Raise your hand. Everybody here don't play with me. Y'all all should be raising your hands. We've all done it. Late to first period, late to second period. How many of us as adults, we've been late for work? We've all done it. I'm going to teach you, we have been at some point. I'm going to teach you something. Until you run your own business and you create your own time, you always be bound to a time somebody else set for you. Always. Somebody's always going to dictate to you what time you need to be somewhere. Here's where maturity comes in. You need to start being there at the time you're supposed to be there. Why? Because even with grades, you can get something, there's a lifeline called the benefit of the doubt. If you're consistently on time in a teacher's mind, whether physically showing up or handing in a project, this is what I get on my son about, handing in a project or doing, you will get the benefit of the doubt. That teacher will be like, he is always here. He's always on time. And if you're borderline passing or failing, I guarantee you, that little bit of punctuality can shift you into a passing grade. You always have somebody to impress.
The principle, I'm sorry.
Punctuality.
So that's number one?
Number one.
All four?
Okay. That's just punctuality.